Dad, what's the future gonna look like?
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for sticking around through the whole event, and I want to thank Cyrus and the Pro and the Walton family for hosting us here again in Bentonville. It's been wonderful to come back year after year, get to experience this awesome city, and meet an amazing group of people here. So as Cyrus mentioned, I'm with a not so small company, and on one hand, we're a little different than a lot of the companies that talked here today. We are 55 years old. We're publicly traded on NASDAQ under the stock ticker AVAV, and we just crossed the $16 billion market cap a couple weeks ago. So really fascinating times for our company. And over the years of that 55-year journey, we've transitioned a lot to be purely defense tech. And that brings some challenges when I come to talk, because a lot of the things we work on are hard to talk about in open forums for a lot of reasons. And so I'm going to come and give you some broad strokes of what we think is happening in the defense global arena, how we're responding to that, and some things that you all hopefully can think about. It's going to be a bit of a journey. We're going to unfortunately have to go a little dark. My marketing team didn't exactly love this image I picked out for the background, which unfortunately speaks to the horrors of war. We know there's global conflicts across the world right now, and unfortunately, we have to deal with that. We have to invest in technologies that provide for the freedoms that we all cherish so much. We had just had our Investor Day yesterday in the great state of New Mexico. So if you really want to get a broad stroke of the company, that's all there for people to go take a look at. But I'm going to dive into and talk a little bit about what we see happening in defense today and a bit about the group I run. So this is a picture of our founder, Dr. Paul MacCready. This was taken in the mid-90s. Dr. MacCready is no longer with us. This is him with one of the projects that we've been working on literally for 40 years. So as Adam mentioned earlier about finding the right time and the right technologies to come together, it's something that our company knows very well. Adam actually has had experience with Paul and this project, so crazy small world there. But Dr. MacCready founded what was AeroVironment to focus on solving emerging hard problems with technology, is probably the simplest way to put it. He focused a lot on environmental monitoring, climate change back in the 70s. That led to us working with GM on the first electric car, the EV1, to eventually this aircraft behind us, which is a solar-powered aircraft that flew and set the world record for the highest propeller-driven flight. We continue to work on creating this technology in my group called MacCready Works. It's a group that I run focused on what's coming in the next 3 to 5 years. It's a big lift inside a publicly traded company to keep the entrepreneurial spirit going, but by focusing on bringing in the best people with the same mindset that many of the startup founders have here, we continue to push forward and create new disruptive technologies and market solutions. So with that, I'm going to first give you a video that shows you an overview of who AV is today.
In a world on edge, conflict is constant. Threats are hard to define and evolve by the hour. And peace is never a given. For over 50 years, AV has pioneered innovative solutions with a purpose to secure lives. And now, we are redefining what's possible. Introducing the new AV, built for scale, driven by innovation, focused on delivering strategic advantage in modern warfare, with unmatched technology across air, land, sea, space, and cyber, and a portfolio that includes space and directed energy, cyber and mission solutions, uncrewed systems, precision strike and defensive systems, and MacCready Works. AV is not just ready for what's next. We are already there. Backed by deep technical expertise, advanced infrastructure, and a shared legacy of impact, we are redefining what's possible in a growing industry and delivering what our warfighters need when they need it most, today and into the future. Stronger, faster, and bigger. With more capabilities than ever before, the future of defense is here. The future is AV.
Great, so that's who we are today. And what we're going to talk about is some things that my group worked on over the last 5 years. And as I mentioned, bringing together a wide range of creative thinkers who want to apply first principles thinking to where the world's headed. And about 7 years ago, we got together and we said, we've dominated the space of drones, right? We created this category in the 80s and 90s before it was cool. What's coming? Where are we going to be in 2025 timeframe, right? So we go back and think about that. And we said there's 3 foundational elements that we think will be changing. One, GPS is not going to be reliable, right? So many of us pilots in the room, right? If you remember tuning in VORs and all the fun days of navigating that way, GPS comes along, wow, that's amazing, right? And now we sit here and we look across the world and it's simply not going to be reliable anymore. So we thought that was principle 1. Second principle is mass will overwhelm. So this is going back to many small disparate systems will be able to create strategic capabilities to alter warfare. So we thought about that. And then the last one is we have to be able to rapidly evolve or die. And this is something that as we look at unfortunate, great peer conflicts like World War II, what we see going on in Ukraine is the speed of evolution on the battlefield accelerates throughout those conflicts. And we need to think about as an autonomous system company and really a software company, how do we ensure that as we create new products, they can move at the speed of software during times of war? And so to substantiate that that is where we stand today, this map behind me is a scrape of Europe. It's reported GPS jamming as little colored hexagons. The lines you see are GPS spoofing, so this is where someone actually goes in and makes you think you're someplace else that you're not. Very big challenge. You notice Ukraine is all white. It's actually heavily contested there. It's not shared publicly because of operational sensitivities. I was in Kyiv in June, driving around, going to visit some partners, and you're driving around and your little blue dot is like moving all over the map, right? It's a very challenging area. GPS simply will not be something we can rely on in the future. To talk about mass overwhelming and to kind of substantiate why this is something important for us to thinking on, we can look at the 2 conflicts, one being in Ukraine, and we'll go to Israel here in a second. But this is a scrape of one night, the amount of drones sent across Ukraine. This was I think the evening of the 9th of September. About 500 drones were sent across Ukraine. To set scale, that is about the size of Texas. So you can imagine this wave of drones coming over every night, 500, 600, 900. I believe the largest attack to date has been nearly 1,000 drones coming across Ukraine. And this is happening at 2 in the morning to probably 6 a.m., really disrupting lives. And fortunately, the Ukrainians, very creative, very advanced response rate. They've been able to counter most of these, so the loss of life has been contained to a small but yet unacceptable number. But still, every night this has to be dealt with. This is really creating a strategic shift of how Ukraine has to think about the war. And then if we jump to the Middle East, Israel's had to deal with this. They prepared over years of investing in their air defense systems and have successfully repelled several waves of large drone attacks. Fortunately, they're not seeing the 500 drones every night. But if we rewind a year ago when Iran responded with about 500 drone strike, the estimates are that strike cost Iran about $100 million. It cost Israel and their allies about $1 billion to defend that. So it's a 10x cost disadvantage that the West has to face. And that's simply something that is not going to be sustainable in the future, right? This is something that offensively you have to be able to provide that capability, and then we have to think about defensively how to invert that number so that that type of cost disadvantage cannot be applied on the West. What that looks like, this is London on the right in World War II, Ukraine on the left. It disrupts life, right? Loss of life hasn't been large, but this really is problematic. I talked to friends there, right? People aren't getting sleep, factories are getting struck. Innovators, entrepreneurs are trying to get their companies up and running and having to replace factories overnight because they're being attacked. So what Russia has been able to sustain is this idea of 500 a month easily, sometimes like seeing 1,000 to 2,000 a month. If you go back to $1 billion to counter 500 drones, you can do the math. That is an unaffordable situation for the West to have to respond to with our current solutions. So I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Rapidly evolve or die. World War II again. Fascinating data showing, again, this was counter-air defense systems throughout the war. As new capabilities came on, the countermeasures were reacted in faster and faster time. So about half as long at the end of the war as the start of the war to respond to a new capability. In Ukraine alone, the FPV drones we read so much about have done tremendous work. They were all based on data links, radios. That became problematic. In the matter of 6 months, the idea of using fiber optic, let's get rid of the radio, right? Fascinating capability, takes off a whole range of countermeasures from being available to the Ukrainians. And then these are two of our products, Puma on the left and Switchblade on the right. AeroVironment got the call early in the Russian invasion to respond and put products into Ukraine immediately before their industrial base was built out. Both these products went in the quantities of thousands. We've had many challenges, right? These products went into a war where the Russians actively kept trying to defeat them. And what we did is throughout the conflict, through software, we've been able to respond to operational challenges and update and create new capabilities that the Russians have not countered yet. And so that's this idea of, as a software-defined product, we have to be able to move fast, both with our engineering teams, our operations teams, and then be able to get this capability out. As we bring that all together, one of the very exciting things we've done recently is launch a product called Red Dragon. This is where we're headed for the future. So that is where we see the future going. Red Dragon, AeroVironment, it's in production today. We think about it as a software-defined capability. It's evolving every month quickly and rapidly based on AI to provide those things that we talked about. We're not reliant on GPS. We overwhelm with affordable mass, and we can rapidly evolve. However, unfortunately, as I mentioned, our adversaries are not idiots. It'd make the world a lot safer probably if they were. On your right, you'll see Shahid recently captured where they're using advanced GPS antennas to navigate through GPS jamming. They have an NVIDIA processor to do computer vision. China, you can read all over what they're doing in this world for swarming capabilities. And then the last one that's emerging is the drug cartels are starting to send operators into Ukraine and Russia to help. But effectively, they're learning the most modern tactics on FPV drones and going to bring those back and deploy them just south of our border. And so, as we've known, defense is the critical capability here that we all need. It's what drove our company, AV, to acquire BlueHalo in May. Very exciting to bring this company into our fold. They focus on some really exciting technologies for counter-UAS or counter-drone. We'll walk through those here quickly because I'm already over time. But let me bring down the music for a second, actually. So these capabilities give us the range to defeat modern drones everywhere from 0 kilometers out to 20 kilometers plus. And so effectively, we create a bubble around any asset that you want to protect, whether it's airports, harbors, troops, dismounted tanks, all types of capabilities. We're very excited for what BlueHalo has brought to the broader AV, and by having both the offensive capabilities and the defensive capabilities, AV is going to be the company to deliver the world-class capabilities our country needs and our allies need. And so one of the things that try to end on a positive up moment, as we've talked about throughout this summit, right, like raising the human potential is very important for us. And so we're going to share what I think is most important as we think about how to maintain national sovereignty, freedom, democracy, and that is the next generation, right? This is where we get the best engineers, the best scientists, the investors to drive forward and create what's necessary for the future. Apollo, Hallmark program, right? Undisputable how it's impacted the STEM community. AeroVironment had a small, but I think still a meaningful example in the late 70s where we successfully completed the first human-powered flight across the English Channel. At our company today, some of our best engineers were inspired by this event. And then most recently, AV had the privilege of partnering with JPL to put Ingenuity on Mars, right? And we flew nearly 50 times on the surface of Mars, inspired kids around the world to think differently about what could be done. Very important that we, I think, all bring back messages that help take and create uplifting moments. And we're really excited to share with you what we've been working on with JPL and NASA and driving to get support at the national level for a new program to go back to Mars, to put 6 drones on Mars to ensure that we stay ahead of China, which is talking about doing this, to ensure that we inspire our next generation. So this is Project Skyfall that we're working on building next. Thank you. And one of the most exciting things with that project is that JPL, NASA, and AeroVironment and our partners are committed to doing this for less than $400 million, which is a fraction in the world of space, and to do it on a timeline that's unheard of. We are in position to prepare for a launch to Mars in 2028 to make that window and ensure that the United States and its partners have this capability to ensure our leadership in space and our leadership with the next generation. So with that, I'll welcome Cyrus back out, and thank you all for your time.
The future is gonna be awesome.